One of the most striking passages in the story occurs in chapter 6, when absolutely and divinely indifferent to what is happening around her, the deserved fate of her idiotic husband and the terrible snake evil coming from Axinia. Absolutely and divinely indifferent to all this evil, Lipa is engrossed in her child and proceeds to promise her little pinched baby her own most vivid vision, her own knowledge of life. She tosses him up and down and in rhythm with the tossing says in sing-song tones, "You will grow ever so big, ever so big. You will be a man. We shall work together. We shall wash floors together." Just as her own most vivid childhood memories are linked up with washing floors. "Why do I love him so much, Maminka? Why do I feel so sorry for him?" She went on in a quivering voice, and her eyes glistened with tears. "Who is he? What is he like? As light as a little feather, as a little crumb. But I love him. I love him as if he were a real person. Here he can do nothing. He can't talk, and yet I always know what his darling eyes tell me he wants." This chapter ends with the news that Anisim is to get 6 years of hard labor in Siberia. Then a nice touch is added. Says old Grigory, "I am worried about the money. Do you remember before his wedding, Anisim's bringing me some new rubles and half rubles? One parcel I put away at the time, but the others I mixed with my own money. When my uncle, Dmitri Filatich, the kingdom of heaven be his, was alive, he used to go to Moscow and to the Crimea to buy goods. He had a wife, and this same wife, when he was away buying goods, used to take up with other men. They had half a dozen children, and when uncle was in his cups, he would laugh and say, 'I never can make out,' he used to say, 'which are my children and which are other people's.' An easygoing disposition, to be sure. And now I can't tell which are genuine rubles and which are false ones, and they all seem false to me. I buy a ticket at the station, I give the man 3 rubles, and I keep fancying they're counterfeit, and I am frightened. I must be ill." From that moment, he is mentally deranged and is redeemed in a sense. He opened the door and, crooking his finger, beckoned to Lipa. She went up to him with the baby in her arms. "If there's anything you want, Limpinka, you ask for it," he said, "and eat anything you like. We don't grudge it, so long as it does you good." He made the sign of the cross over the baby. "And take care of my grandchild. My son is gone, but my grandson is left." Tears rolled down his cheeks. He gave a sob and went away. Soon afterwards, he went to bed and slept soundly after 7 sleepless nights. This was poor Lipa's happiest night before the awful events that were to follow. Grigory makes arrangements to give the land at Botyukino, which Axinia wants for a brickyard, to his grandson. Axinia is in a fury. "Hey, Stepan," she called to the deaf man. "Let us go home this minute. Let us go to my father and mother. I don't want to live with convicts. Get ready." Clothes were hanging on lines stretched across the yard. She snatched off her petticoats and blouses still wet and flung them across the deaf man's stretched arms. Then in her fury, she dashed about the yard where the linen hung, tore down all of it, and what was not hers she threw on the ground and trampled upon. "Holy saints, stop her," moaned Varvara. "What a woman! Give her Botyukino. Give it to her, for Christ's sake." We come now to the climax. Axinia ran into the kitchen where laundering was being done. Lipa was washing alone. The cook had gone to the river to rinse the clothes. Steam was rising from the trough and from the cauldron near the stove, and the air in the kitchen was close and thick with vapor. On the floor was a heap of unwashed clothes, and Nikifor, kicking up his little red legs, lay on a bench near them, so that if he fell, he should not hurt himself. Just as Axinia went in, Lipa took the former's shirt out of the heap and put it into the trough, and was just stretching out her hand to a big pan-like dipper full of boiling water, which was standing on the table. "Give it here," said Axinia, looking at her with hatred and snatching the shirt out of the trough. "It is not your business to touch my linen. You are a convict's wife and ought to know your place and who you are." Lipa gazed at her in utter bewilderment. She did not understand, but suddenly she caught the look Axinia turned upon the child, and at once she understood and went numb all over. "You've taken my land, so here you are." Saying this, Axinia snatched up the dipper with the boiling water and splashed it over Nikifor. There followed a scream such as had never been heard before in Ukleevo. And no one would have believed that a little weak creature like Lipa could scream like that, and it was suddenly quiet in the yard. Aksenia walked into the house in silence with the old naive smile on her lips. The deaf man kept moving about the yard with his arms full of linen. Then he began hanging it up again, silently, without haste, and until the cook came back from the river, no one ventured into the kitchen to see what had happened there. The enemy is destroyed. Aksenia smiles once more. Automatically, the land is hers now. The deaf man hanging up the linen again is a stroke of genius on Chekhov's part. The child theme is continued when Lipa comes on foot the long, long way back from the hospital. Her baby has died. She carries his little body wrapped in a blanket. Lipa went down the road and before reaching the hamlet sat down by a small pond. A woman brought a horse to water, but the horse would not drink. "What more do you want?" the woman said to it softly, in perplexity. "What more do you want?" A boy in a red shirt sitting at the water's edge was washing his father's jack boots, and not another soul was in sight, either in the village or on the hill. "Doesn't drink," said Lipa, looking at the horse. This little group should be noted, the boy not her boy. All of it is emblematic of the simple family happiness that might have been hers. Notice the unobtrusive symbolism of Chekhov. Then the woman with the horse and the boy with the boots walked away, and there was no one left at all. The sun went to sleep, covering itself with a skeined cloth of gold, and long clouds, red and lilac, stretched across the sky, guarded its rest. Somewhere far away, a bittern boomed, a hollow, melancholy sound as that made by a cow shut up in a barn. The cry of that mysterious bird was heard every spring, but no one knew what it was like or where it lived. At the top of the hill by the hospital, in the bushes close to the pond, and in the fields, the nightingales were singing their heads off. The cuckoo kept reckoning someone's years and losing count and beginning again. In the pond, the frogs called angrily to one another, straining themselves to bursting, and one could even make out the words, "That's what you are, that's what you are." What a noise there was. It seemed as though all these creatures were singing and shouting so that no one might sleep on that spring night, so that all, even the angry frogs, might appreciate and enjoy every minute. Life is given only once. Among European writers, you may distinguish the bad one from the good one by the simple fact that the bad one has generally one nightingale at a time, as happens in conventional poetry, while the good one has several of them sing together, as they really do in nature. The men Lipa meets on the road are probably bootleggers, but Lipa sees them otherwise in the moonlight. "Are you holy men?" Lipa asked the old man. "No, we are from Fursanova." "You looked at me just now and my heart was softened," in almost biblical intonation in the Russian text. "And the lad is so gentle, I thought you must be holy men. Have you far to go?" "To Ukleyevo." "Get in, we will give you a lift as far as Kuzminki. Then you go straight on and we turn off to the left." Vavila, the young man, got into the cart with the barrel, and the old man and Lipa got into the other. They moved at a walking pace, Vavila in front. "My baby was in torment all day," said Lipa. He looked at me with his little eyes and said nothing. He wanted to speak and could not. "Lord God, Queen of Heaven, in my grief I kept falling down on the floor. I would be standing there and then I would fall down by the bedside. And tell me, grandfather, why should a little one be tormented before his death? When a grown-up person, a man or woman, is in torment, his sins are forgiven. But why a little one? When he has no sins, why?" "Who can tell?" answered the old man. They drove on for half an hour in silence. "We can't know everything, how and why," said the old man. "A bird is given not 4 wings, but 2, because it is able to fly with 2. And so man is not permitted to know everything, but only a half or a quarter. As much as he needs to know in order to live, so much he knows." "Never mind," he repeated. "Yours is not the worst of sorrows. Life is long. There is good and bad yet to come. There is everything to come. Great is Mother Russia," he said, and looked round on either side of him. "I have been all over Russia, and I have seen everything in her. And you may believe my words, my dear. There will be good and there will be bad. I went as a messenger from my village to Siberia, and I have been to the Amur River and the Altai Mountains, and I immigrated to Siberia. I worked the land there. Then I got homesick from Mother Russia, and I came back to my native village. And when I got home, as the saying is, there was neither stick nor stone. I had a wife, but I left her behind in Siberia. She was buried there. So I am a hired man now, and I tell you, since then I have it good as well as bad. I do not want to die, my dear. I would be glad to live another 20 years. So there has been more of the good, and great is our Mother Russia." And again he gazed on either side and looked back.